Actually, we can stop it for now. Let me know if you can hear me well. All right. Trying to position the microphone. Johnny, Raphael, Alexander, Sean, Vista, Shomet, Alexander again, Goods. I'm gonna read these. Good morning, guys. Let's go, baby. Hello, and good morning or evening, whenever you're watching this. So, any tutorials for SketchUp to Unreal Engine 5 for a newbie to advanced, especially for interiors? That's Shomet. This question will be answered partially today. So, today I'm gonna walk you guys through the process of importing assets into Unreal Engine, and we will touch on SketchUp. Mainly, I think what we need to learn is how to organize the assets, slowly build our master library, and create our materials, and so on. So today, feel free to ask any questions about this apartment, this house here. Expect a lot of GPU crashes, but yeah, all of this is made in Blender, except for the furniture. It's made by your boy Akshay, one of our VR division boys. So yeah, we're gonna cover that, baby. Summit. Guys, how are you doing? And where are you watching from? Let's go, guys. Okay, I'm gonna put the chat here on the right. I'm gonna keep reading, I'm gonna keep answering questions, and I'm gonna keep touching on points. So let me just put a notepad for us to focus. Let's start with importing an asset. And SketchUp to Unreal as well. Let me put also this on the side. Anil, good to see you again. Welcome back to the stream. Peter. Raphael. All right, guys. Amazing. Welcome, everyone. And let's get started. So, I'm making this apartment house in UE5 with my team for a curriculum or a curricula we're working on in visualizing architecture in Unreal Engine, from the brainstorming to the modeling to exporting and so on. And I want to share with you guys the process of how I'm making this, how we're finishing this, and how we're doing other use case scenarios, let's say. So yeah, guys, welcome everyone. I am now experimenting with glass with Unreal Engine, and I'm looking now for everything from the starter content and the automotive content. So these glasses, as you can see, like, this is not bad compared to like completely translucent, but yeah. So one of the tips I can give, if you are working on materials, it's a good idea to find the standard materials made by Epic and reverse engineer them, use them, and learn from them. So, and also see how they are structured and organized. This is one of the things I always do in order to create my own folder structure for my libraries and my files. Raphael, today we will be talking about importing assets into Unreal Engine and creating materials and answering your questions. Peter, light baking workflows for virtual reality. Give me trouble. SketchUp, Datasmith, Unreal Engine 5, UVs are always messed up. UVs in terms of UV mapping, Peter, or UV light maps. And if we have some time today, we can touch on light baking. I think we can do that on like one of the assets. We can create small map. Hey, we have people from Spain, from India. So the automotive assets, I also want to share with you all the resources I'm learning from. So let me share that with you guys. Automotive, materials, Unreal Engine. You can find it in the Unreal Marketplace. These are great materials as a starting point for furniture, let's say, because here the interior are like we have leather, we have plastic, textile, metal, and rubber, and so on. So this is a really good starting point. Don't try to reinvent the wheel, especially when it comes to finishing projects fast. So where is the chat to post this link? Yeah, there we go. I also got the glass from the starter content. I want to see how these work by default in Unreal 5. So this glass material is from the starter content, the normal, the one we add from when you go to add feature or content pack, you go to content. This is the starter content, you can add it to your project. So that's its glass material, not bad. I was waiting for shaders to compile while I was loading the stream. Let's see how they look in the interior. And I think it's about time I start to organize my my layers. So let's do this. And let's add all of these to a folder. So if we have that's nice. If you have assets selected, then click on this to add them in a new folder. It's funny to say. All right. And we can also this is a trick I always use when I don't want to do this, like select here and select here. Because I know I want to select this soon again, I press Ctrl G to group them together and I deselect. Now I'm going to hide this and I'm going to select these actors here. So I'm gonna first select the chairs because it makes sense to select them from here. Then Ctrl and select these guys. And we can also add them to a layer and we can just dining table. Yeah. Ctrl G to group these for now. So when we select them, hide. Oh, I forgot to select the frame. No problem. So let's hide these. Let's select the frame and right click, move to dining table area, the folder we just created. And we can select these, ungroup by pressing Shift G. It will delete the group. Press Ctrl, select this asset, press Ctrl G again. And now we can click anywhere, click here, it's all selected, hide it, unhide it. Without these, get out of here. Oh, not you. You. This is why I love Lumen. Dope, right? Let's click save. Let's hide this and let's bring these up. And yo, we have people from Mexico, from Venezuela. Garitz, welcome from Mexico. 2 a.m. Wow. Stay here for a while, then get some rest. Unless you are a night owl, stay here all night, buddy. Welcome. Cooks. Hey, how can we migrate lights from one file to another? That's a beautiful question, Cooks. I'm gonna add this to the list so we can answer it in 5 minutes, okay? This is a great question, guys. Focus. Once we answer this, you will love it. Arma from Venezuela, welcome. Is Datasmith officially available for UE5? Alexander. Yes, baby, it's available for UE5 official release. So if you go to Datasmith, so this is questions time, okay? So we can get back to importing assets after this. So if you go to Datasmith and you go to get the plugins, at the moment, everything here is up to date with UE5, the official release. So I recommend updating your plugin. There might be even like, as you can see now with some tools like SketchUp and Revit, we have the live link with Datasmith, so you can use that. And with tool that is coming for 3ds Max, hopefully someday in the near future. So yeah, it's available now for UE5 on all tools. Let's get back here. And yo, Ashish, welcome back. It's good to see you again. Lucas, a big hug from Brazil. Hey, hug to you too, buddy. The lights put in Unreal Engine, other program. So all the lights here I placed manually inside Unreal Engine. We have, that's Rafael, so this is for you, Rafael Lobera VR. For the lighting in this scene, if this is what you're asking, the setup, so it's pretty simple. Let's collapse this and let's select or search for light here. And when you type in the word outliner light, it will show you all sorts of lights inside your project. So it will show you spotlights, rectangular lights, it will show you point lights or meshes with lights in them, of course, and the directional light, of course. So mainly we have the directional light, we have the sky atmosphere, we have exponential height fog, and we have some rectangular lights and spotlights placed around the project here. So if you hide these, the skylight and of course the skylight as well, we have now the interior lighting or these rectangular and spotlights inside the house. Hey, look at this. And I believe I have lights. Yeah, I have here a light that works really nice with the daylight. So I have this one placed here. I think did this guy move here by mistake? There is something with the geo here. Yeah, ignore what you saw. So it's fun to place, not fun, but like something you can do. You can also place full and large rectangular lights on these areas and have multiple maps with multiple lighting setups. And again, this is why I love Lumen. It allows us to experiment with the lighting in real time. No light bake. Get out of here, light bake. But of course, I hope it works on VR someday. Let me read the chat. So, hello from Pakistan. We from Poland. Hasib. Brand, it's hard to pronounce your first name, buddy. Sorry. Hey, Alrita from Turkey. Hoş geldiniz. Hoş geldiniz. I know little Turkish. Günaydın. Good morning. And hoş geldiniz is like welcome. We have Marco from South Africa, my man, welcome. And Peter from New Zealand. Hasib Ahmad, I have a problem with light bearing between wall corners. Please, I want solution for that in Unreal Engine 5. Hasib, could you join our Discord community? There is a link in the description of this video and post some screenshots of the problem you're struggling with and we will see. But to avoid bleeding, you need to keep double-sided meshes like this. Even though now it's Lumen is much better in Unreal Engine 5 with the improvements, but you still need to keep your meshes the same way we divide them for like if it's like this is slightly off, you might have some bleeding. So just make sure your 3D modeling is like up to point. Standard is like not perfect, but perfect. And detach your meshes. So as you can see here, if I'm going to select the ceiling, for example, I have the upper side of the ceiling as one piece. It's separated. If I hide this, wow. By the way, this is dope. Look at this. We have other pieces of the ceiling that are selected for each room. So this piece, for example, is for this piece here. And let's see if there is any bleeding. You can see here now, after I hide that mesh, what we have here, we have some bleeding. So this might be the issue on your end. Even though there is like mesh on top of this, but because we hide the ceiling, like it's not contributing to the scene anymore, we have some bleeding. So this could be one of the issues, Hasib. Marco, will this project be available on Gumroad as part of the academy? Yes, Marco. This house and everything, almost 99% of the furniture you will see in this house, well, not 99, not the one we're going to import today, at least, because it's paid from Dimensivia, but like this sofa, for example. I love this sofa. Akshay, shout out to you, buddy. I'm working now on so let me show you guys. This is what we're working now. The Unreal Engine 5 for Archviz artists. This is private at the moment, like only for me. I can see it as the admin. I'm creating the outlines of the lessons, and each lesson is like 5 to 6 videos, depending. And also we are working on the files for this. So it's gonna be fun. This will be fun. This will be hopefully the best guide for anyone who wants to learn Archviz visualization and interactive Archviz visualization, let's say, in Unreal. So for all existing students, this is an update for everyone. And for those who want to enroll in this, you can either grab this on Gumroad as its current price, but the Gumroad description is out of date. It needs update. This is on my end. Or you can just check the link of this video. There is like a join list, a waiting list that you can sign up for, and we will email you with the new training programs we're working on in Unreal Engine that you can choose from to learn Unreal Engine. Good stuff. Okay, so more questions. I have problem with light bleeding. Hasib, don't spam, buddy. Hopefully my answer got your question. And if you're still having problems, join us on Discord, buddy. And Discord is really a great place. Let me see if I can open it. Then hide it on the side. As you can see, for anyone who send me a message, of course, I always welcome messages. I do my best to respond to everyone, but this is a public apology to anyone who I'm late to reply or I forget to reply. Sorry, guys. Anyway, Discord. Join us, guys. As you can see, we have beautiful community here. People are helping each other and we are asking questions. And here's what you can do. If you join us and first, please say hello. Introduction, introduce yourself, tell us what you're learning and why are you here. It's good to have you, of course. And go to pick your roles and let's help each other more. Like, this is why I'm going live to help. Like, yeah, guys, pick a role and let's do 10 minutes a day answering question. I would like give you falafel and a hug and mwah, thank you, Habibis. Okay, let's continue. I'm very excited to share with you what we're working on. We have been working on so many things in the past couple of months, and it's getting there. And I'm trying to teach the things I think like essential, not essential, but like important things to learn in Unreal Engine in order to complete projects. I would imagine like you guys, us working together, like if I would teach the process for someone in my team, so we can work on projects together. This is what I like. Yeah, this is the chat we're having today, guys. So feel free to ask questions and let's keep going. So I have a folder now called library or lib_lib, so it can always stay on the tab. It's not super organized because I've decided instead of having so many folders here when I open new folder, I kind of like having less folders. So I made folder called meshes, and inside this folder, I'm gonna copy the seating, the tables, and the lamps, and the kitchen. I'm gonna click and drag and move here. And this structure is kind of based on what I have here. So I use a tool called Miro.com or Miro, and it's great for mind mapping. And at the moment, I am structuring or restructuring. Since I'm using a new laptop, I found it's a great opportunity to like restructure things and show you the process. So on a tool like Miro or pen and paper, I would draw my folder structure for my Unreal Engine projects because it is essential that you make it possible to exchange data between your projects, between your existing current projects that you're working on for your customers, and between your master library project or the project where you save all your favorite materials and assets and textures and blueprints and so on. All right. So based on that, we make a couple of folders. Let's get now to the exciting stuff. Let's go to the library and let's go to, once we copy folders, by the way, let's just right click and let's fix up redirectors in folders. It will ask us to save this map. Let's save it. I don't know why, but sometimes for a reason Unreal Engine keeps asking to save maps. So I hope just it fixed redirectors. Override this. Oh, come on. Get out of here. Okay. It's important to fix up redirectors after you move folders inside your Unreal Engine project. If you don't fix up redirectors and maybe you turn off the project or it might break links between materials, material functions, and the meshes and the textures. So it's important. So now here, let's see. Yesterday, when I'm working on an Archviz project, once I finish working on the architectural elements of the project, the main rooms, I go to websites like Dimensivia, 3D Sky, Model Plus Model, Overmotion, and so on, and I start looking for meshes. Now, of course, we have internal team, we're working on our own meshes, but still, I think it's always important to, in a way, to keep experimenting with, like, as an interior designer, let's say, right now I'm working on the design process on what would make this project or this house beautiful. It's important that I am able to experiment fast with models. So this is why I use these websites. There is like this, I hope it does not exist anymore, but this mindset of where you need to design everything from scratch. No, save yourself some time and get some high quality pre-made assets. So I think I've downloaded the assets I wanted and I made a new folder for that because we recently, so here in library, this is a new structure, not new, but like from zero, because I started this, there were no folders. The way I would organize my assets for now, for example, I have tables, seats, lights. This is the way you can organize your assets based on what they are, or you can also organize them based on the room. It's up to you. And this is something you can keep experimenting with and mind mapping on a tool like this to, because you have your own workflow ultimately, and yeah. Let's keep going. I want to import a seat, so let's go to a sofa, for example, and let's take one of these, unzip it. I hope there is no something bad with this model. Okay, let me just experiment here on the side. Of course, it's gonna be wind rush. Come here, boy. Ha. Okay, it might be the download file is broken, I guess. So, because yesterday I had very bad internet connection, I can delete this file. Okay, let's try with something smaller, perhaps. Okay, we got this chair. There is a million way you can import assets when you buy them, and from a website like Diamond Celia, for example, we get because it's meant for Archviz, it's mainly designed for tools like 3ds Max. So we have the standard is V-Ray in Corona, let's say. Of course, and thankfully we have FBX, the industry standard, and OBJ for I don't know what reasons, but we got it. So depending on where you're getting your assets from, I like to get my assets from, let's say, one provider because they are consistent in how they provide the assets. So I know what to expect. If I'm using Blender, I can import the FBX file, and I'm using tool like 3ds Max and Corona Render, that's my old workflow, let's say, I would use this. So let's start with the FBX and the way I would import this. So we are importing a chair technically. It's not an armchair, but for some reason they call it armchair, so we can keep it armchair. We go to library. Well, I'm gonna call it chair. I don't care what they call it. Go to meshes and we go to, at the moment I made 2 folders. I tried to come up with shorter names, so I made this one just before the stream, and this is from yesterday. So I'm gonna go here and go here and select these 2 guys and put them here. Before I delete this folder, I'm going to right click, I'm going to fix up redirectors in this folder, and then I'm going to delete this folder. If I delete it, I wish I actually did that before sometimes you may get warnings. So if you get any warnings before you delete a folder, make sure you fix up the redirectors. Okay, now when it comes to organizing your assets, there are also 2 ways. You can either start always with the name of or the type of this, and then give it the name, like its own name. So in Archviz, as you know, we use real world assets from real brands. So it's important to keep that in mind. And something I'm gonna touch on in a second. But for example, it's important because when you're working with the interior designer, if you just, you need a reference ultimately and fast. So when you type the name of the chair, you can see we got it from here, and you can always go for the who made this and find real world pictures if needed, or more variants of the if there is, of course, of the textile or the colors. And if you are in the Archviz industry or interactive Archviz industry for real time and you work with interior designers, you can with Blueprint integrate the price of this asset, for example. So you can have the price of everything inside your project, right? And then you can have that in CSV file, and it can be shown in Unreal Engine with Blueprint, right? And if you don't know where to start, I don't know, here's a good idea. I mean, go to Pinterest and you type for user interface. This is a completely different topic. I don't know why, but I thought this is a good idea for Archviz projects where you can like just type furniture as well. Have something like this inside the engine, inside the projects. This is very valuable, I believe, for interior designers. And this also a nice way to create UI ideas for how you want to change the materials on your project, your projects. So yeah. So we wanted to import that chair. We were talking about this. For now, I'm gonna keep experimenting with both options. I think this one is nicer, or this one. Yeah. I also, while I'm creating this, the reason we make it on a tool like Miro, it's because I am imagining, hey, what if we have 200 or 300 or 500 assets here, 1 year or 2 years from now? What does this look like? So you cannot create that system now, because it will be, you have to start somewhere, but you keep it, work with the end in mind. You would say, what I mean with that, like when you have an empty project like this, what we can start from is when I'm working on the living room, how can I make it easy for me to have only folders, like just a couple of folders in front of me to fully furnish this living room as fast as possible inside Unreal Engine without the need to leave the engine? What should I prepare for? What should I have? What type of assets I need? If we start from a big, medium, small, let's say, I don't know, we have like the medium, big assets or medium assets like the furniture, the sofas in the house, and then the small assets are like these guys. And what would be noise? Where is it? Let's go here. Is if you divide them, like you have sofas, chairs, armchairs, beds, side tables, bathrooms, and then you can go deeper and deeper and deeper. This is a good way to build your library. Hey, let's read the chat for a second. Or yeah, before I get into the chat, let's get into this for a second. We have this guy. Let's we imported it, right? So no, we did not. We said it's a chair. So let's go to seats. Here, I'm gonna make a new folder. So I'm just gonna copy the name. Actually, we imported this. We want something else. Actually, wait, it's okay. We can re-import it again. So I got the FBX. That's the easiest way. You can simply click and drag the file you want. So we can go to the folder. I made FBX file, and I'm gonna make one now for Datasmith. And in the FBX, when you select and import the file, I don't think it will retain the material or the V-Ray material in any way, but we get, actually it will replace it if you already have it. So let's quickly make a new folder that we can delete now. So we call it FBX1, and I'm gonna, instead of clicking and dragging, I'm going to go to import here. We can do that directly from here, and you can locate your file. And if you have a tool like Listari, or I don't know, Listari, what is it? This guy. This is like life hack, okay? It has nothing to do with Unreal Engine, but I have this here. So instead of copying this path, I just open this window on Windows, and I select my window inside Unreal Engine, and it will locate that window for me directly. So instead of Control C the path, then select this path, and then Control V this guy with the new path to be able to select this guy, I use Listari. So this is the FBX import options. If this is a skeletal mesh, if it's a character or anything with a skeleton on it, Unreal Engine will identify it and enable this for us. But since this is a static mesh, it's a nice little chair, this is not enabled. We can now build Nanite for this, and while as far as I understood, so that I'm still experimenting with this in Archviz, it's recommended to build Nanite on almost everything. So let's do that. Generate missing collision. Yeah, why not? Thank you so much. And by default, I think advanced, like let's assume this. I always also, if I am new to any window, I always close the windows and I get familiar with what the options are I have here. So we have mesh, noise. It has got 3 options. They look essential, good stuff. And I mess with this. Hey, what do I have here? Holy shit, no, I don't want it anymore. And then I go back, right? No, I actually try to read and understand what is this? And then I go back. In case I messed up, I know like, maybe I saw this. Okay, advanced. 99% we don't touch these options, we leave them by default, but the options we do change. If you don't want Unreal to change your UV light maps or the ones you created in tool like realism, or if you have like unique UVs, you should disable this. But if you want Unreal Engine to generate light map UVs for you, you should enable this. By default, it's enabled, so keep an eye on this if you like. I'm gonna enable it. And actually, let's see without. And we can make a map where we can build a light. Actually, yeah, without. And combine meshes. Combine meshes would select the FBX file. If you have sub meshes, if it's like a motor, let's say, and it got like 300 different meshes, you maybe perhaps it's up to, you need to combine the meshes. If it's a so now I'm gonna keep this. I think the default option is false. I'm not sure, but I'm gonna put this on false and let's see how many pieces this chair is made of, unless it's collapsed inside the DCC tool. There's like the 3D tool. Yeah, so these 2 options, generate light map UVs and combine meshes, are important, and the rest usually we don't ignore, but like by default we never change. So that's for advanced. For transform, if you want to offset your mesh or rotate it, like sometimes you may need to rotate the Y or the Z for 90 degrees or just flip it. If you imported it the first time and it was like flipped, you can import it again and change this to whatever you see, right? And if you imported your mesh and if it's for some reason 10 times smaller or 10 times bigger, or perhaps it was made in inch, the American metric system, maybe it's 2.56 times bigger, or like, let's see, I mean, if you type 1 inch to, yeah, sorry, 2.54, not 6. You need to change these, like you may need sometimes, some days, it depends, to do this, right? Or the opposite. So that's for unit scale, but 99% of the time, if you followed in your digital content curation tool, if you follow the unit system of every 1 unit in your tool, so for example in 3ds Max equals 1 centimeter, you are good. So in Max, for example, we have units set up, and if you go to the system unit setup, 1 unit 1 centimeters, right? And yeah, because I think we all like these are the standards for when you even create your architectural project. So by default, these are there. Everything else, not important, okay? Material, if you are getting an asset, I don't think Diamond CV assets can support these on the materials, but if you're getting an asset like from Sketchfab or something, you can mess with these settings to import the materials and textures. So now let's click import all. No smoothing groups was found in this FBX scene, meaning we might, if we saw there like, sorry about the mic. That message means if this asset for if I don't think, let's see if we can notice it now. But we can show quickly here to demonstrate this. If you create, where is it? Yeah, a sphere like this and this sphere, even though it might have lots of subdivisions, it's still, you can still see the polygons, right? The faces, the separate faces. So in a tool like Max or Blender, like in Blender, we right click and we shade smooth. So now it's smooth. So that message means, hey, if you don't like your asset, the smoothing groups on it, if you see the polygons a lot, you may need to go back to a tool and like Blender or Max and smooth it. And we may need to do that. You can see here, I think it's kind of hard. Let's make a new material. I'm gonna right click in my content browser, click new material, assign this here, see if we can see. You can see the change here, the colors, like there's it's so subtle. I open the material, press V to create a parameter, connect this parameter here, and I'm gonna change this color to close to white. I don't know how much visible it is, but let me change the post-process volume, the exposure, compensation. Well, it's actually set on auto. Yeah, you can see these. So by smoothing this, you would get rid of these problems. I don't think we can see. And of course, like the best way to tell is by just looking at the topology. So that's one way to import the asset. Of course, we need to import the textures and create the cloth or like wood or what if it's made of. But before we continue, actually just quickly do it. The textures, it's also very simple. So by the way, when we the option combine meshes, when we didn't enable it, this means, and this didn't come in 100 piece, this means like this 3D asset is one mesh inside the 3D tool of choice. So Blender is the only tool that does not work with Listari. Missing textures. Okay, let's read the chat real quick. Well, hey, wow, welcome guys. Where did I miss? It's okay. Hoş geldiniz حبيبي أبي الريتا Kwand brand. You're using Lumen but with ray tracing hardware too? Yes. For the lighting in this scene. So let me switch back. I'm gonna now answer your questions from the chat, guys, okay? I hope I didn't miss the questions before you. Brand? Actually, Shomet, are these meshes, are there mesh lights in UE5? Shomet, let's start with your question and then we will go to your question, Brand. Actually, Brand, yes, I am using now, to answer your question first, I'm gonna show later how we can enable the settings for that. I am using Lumen with ray tracing, ray traced hardware settings as well. It's the default settings in the architecture template. And to use like the ultimate settings, I know it's kind of sad, but with an RTX card, like, or not an RTX card, but like for the best performance. And as you can see, even me, I'm struggling with the performance. But these are for the best visual settings inside UE5. For now, if you want the best of both, so this is now to answer your question, Shomet Sarkar. if you want the best of both worlds, or not both worlds actually, if you still want to achieve the best quality possible with the best performance possible, we still need to bake our lights. And Shomet is asking if we have light maps in UE5, if we can bake the light in UE5, and the answer for that is yes. If we create our project, actually yes, so from build, we can build lighting only, and this will use the CPU light mass, but we need to disable Lumen in this scene in order to do that. And let's make actually a map copy of this, so we can perhaps try a quick light bake on this scene, or a small one. Let's do it on small one. Yeah, we will see, because I don't want for this to crash. Let's make a new map. Let's keep it very simple. So new level here. Should I save? Yes. So new level, and in this level, I'm going to find my project. I'm going to find my apartment project. I will locate my Datasmith file. And Datasmith is, in my opinion, the best way to export assets into Unreal Engine, especially projects like that, architectural projects, because it's so... I simply now start a new map and I get the house and click the Datasmith scene actor, and I import it, and Unreal Engine crashes. Nice. I think it might crash with that file because I changed so much in that file. So let's try again. House, don't crash Unreal. I feel it. Yeah. Well, that's sad. I want to copy the architecture from my house, so we're gonna want to work around this. But if your Datasmith file crashes, like what's happening now, unfortunately, you need to override it with a new file. It's not unfortunately, it's not like not a bad thing. The reason this happened because I changed a lot in the architecture of the house inside the engine, I think, for a reason, I don't know. But let's say that happens. The file you have, the way you can replace this file is in your tool of choice. So this file, by the way, is imported by using Datasmith JLTF exporter. So that could be one of the reasons, because I'm not sure if it's fully implemented, but yeah, actually we have version 1. Meaning I imported this whole apartment from Blender. So in Blender, when you go to file, you have your apartment project, let's say. So let's say you have this project. Export, and you choose JLTF. You select the JLTF file from, then you go back to Unreal. In Unreal, you can enable the type Datasmith, and you can enable Datasmith for the JLTF file format. And this is not the same as the Datasmith importer for 3ds Max, SketchUp tools, Revit, and so on. So if you don't start your Unreal Engine project from an architectural template, none of these almost will be enabled. Actually, none of these. But if you start Unreal Engine from the architecture template, all these settings and the settings for my project on the highest lighting quality settings are all enabled by default. This is why templates are so important to start from, including the ray tracing effect, or not the hardware ray tracing. And I think we can switch between that. So the template I'm talking about, Unreal Project Browser, Architecture, this guy. Okay, so let's go to settings and let's go to project settings. We wanted to try with the, before we do the JLTF, we need to replace the file, right? I almost went into another topic without finishing the other one. Sorry guys, my bad. I paid attention to that. So let's copy the walls from here. So I'm gonna type S wall because I know the names of the meshes I got. You know what? It's so much easier just to duplicate this. I'm gonna call it bake, and this one should be actually called Lumen. Yeah, do it. And let's save. The warning I got. Here's a quick tip for you guys. When you're working in Unreal Engine, the engine crashes, or every time you close the engine and you open it again, I think it's important to save yourself a couple of seconds and set the map, the startup map to your in the project settings. So when you open this project, you always start with this map you are working on, instead of going and locating that map in massive word outliner. So I think this is so important for your existing maps as a productivity tip, if you want to call it. So let's increase the let's kind of hate this dark look, so let's increase this a little bit. Okay, and now let's open this map. So house bake. Actually, here we are again. So I will go to the post-process volume here, and I will go to let's start with the exposure. So that's weird. If this happened to you, click outside and click again, so these are enabled. So let's see this without Lumen, and let's hide these. Let's close the lens. We can find the option global illumination, and we can change the lighting method from Lumen to none. And this is holy wow. This is real. And the same for reflections. Well, screen space basically. No way. Wow. Okay. Let's select the directional light of this level and set it to stationary. Let's select the skylight, and it's been at least 8 months almost since I baked any lights. I've been using Lumen all the time. I hope I didn't forget. But it's still important. And for now, let's select all our other lights to make the light bake faster, and let's just delete them. And to select types of actor, you can select rectangular light, for example, and you can press Ctrl-Shift-A, and it will select all similar actor types, which is rectangular lights. So this will select all rectangular lights inside my map, and I can simply press delete. Let me see. I have spotlights here. I'm gonna also delete these. I will delete this ceiling, and I will press Ctrl-L. Should I? You know what? Let's bring them back, all of them. Because I'd like... Well, I know it's too early to compare lighting, because we got some work to do on the apartment, but you know what? Let's just set them to static, or... Yeah, static. And let's go to build. So build lighting only. This will build the lighting using the CPU lightmass, and using the GPU lightmass is what I do recommend, or Lumen GPU lightmass if you want to go that way. Both are also enabled by default in Unreal Engine 5, the architecture template. If they are not, then we need to do the following settings. So in the project settings, in order to enable the GPU lightmass, we need to go to project settings and then go to engine, and again go to rendering, and go to, we need to enable ray tracing basically. So at the, where is it? Hardware ray tracing, support hardware ray tracing. We need to check on this, and by default we enable everything. And the default RHI, if it's on default for any reason, this should be set to DirectX 12, otherwise ray tracing won't work. And to be able to use the GPU Lightmass, you don't want an RTX card. You just want to enable ray tracing settings inside the engine. For example, I've been using GPU Lightmass all the time on my computer, the PC, and it has GTX 1080 Ti, right? You just need an NVIDIA card, unfortunately, whether you want to use the GPU Lightmass, this one, or Lushuang GPU Lightmass. Otherwise, the CPU Lightmass, which is the default setting. So one thing we need to check, if we go to the word settings, sorry, not the project settings. Yeah, to enable the GPU Lightmass, if you go to plugins, type GPU Lightmass, enable this, and you should be good to go. Remember, it's in beta, so just remember. Okay. I will enable word settings. It's a tab with options about the Lightmass. These Lightmass settings are for the CPU Lightmass, so we don't need these, but the option I want to search for is pre-computed lighting. I want to make sure like this is not set to true. Okay, so I can bake the light. So if this is set to this setting and I go to build, I click build light, it won't start. It will not work in both GPU and CPU, unless if it wants to start it in the GPU. I think that breaks the point. Interesting. Okay. It might not save the light maps, and I don't want to wait for that risk, but in all cases, just make sure this is not enabled. For the CPU, it didn't work. For the GPU, we can take this risk off stream. But if you want to see in the GPU Lightmass, as you saw now, so we clicked on build GPU Lightmass. So these are the settings for the quality of the GPU Lightmass. And the settings we need to care about as well are the light map settings on our meshes, but we can get into that in a second. For now, what I want to chat about is the progress bars. For these guys, we need to enable virtual shadow maps and virtual shadow light map. Sorry, forgot the name. To do that, if you go to project settings, you type virtual. So virtual textures, enable virtual texture support. This is the first option, and virtual texture on texture import, that's up to you for the new textures. If you want to enable virtual textures on them out of the box, and virtual textures are just a way, or much better way, to streamline like high quality textures with big resolutions in the engine without eating all that VRAM. So you can have 8K textures, for example, and without this, the FPS will be extremely bad. But with this option, with the virtual texture support, you will have massive improvement on the performance of your project. And we can also have virtual texture light maps. We can enable this, and once you enable this, restart the engine, compile the shaders. When we click build the light, we will see these progress bars, and we will be able to see more in real time what's going on. So if you want for the engine to go much faster, you can enable this option, but I think this will kill the stream because this will eat all your computer resources, but you can control how much resources it eats from the system. So real-time workload factor, it's set to 1, which is the workload we are using now. And I think this is the number of cores or something. If you disable this, it will use 8 workload factor. So let's reduce this to something like 4 and watch the speed of this perhaps going up. So I'm gonna put this, and now it's working 4 times faster. But it's preparing shaders, so I don't think it's it can get completed. So let's cancel the build, let it compile its shaders. It's not a good idea to build the light while shaders are compiling. You might get light artifacts. Just to check, I'm going to check on my geometry and make sure it's set to static, not to movable. I remember in UE4 we had an indicator of the type of mesh. I think this will not matter in the near future because everything will be fully dynamic. While we're waiting for the shaders to compile, I think GPU lightmass and light baking could be a topic for another time, but let's read the chat and see if this will be fast. And I hope you guys are finding this useful. Kiwichi brand reflections. Reflections, we're gonna talk about Lumen, right? So reflections, we can access Lumen reflections from the post-process volume, and we can go here to reflections. You can set the method. By default in UE5 it's set to Lumen, so let's set it to Lumen, and let's set the GI for now also to Lumen. So these are Lumen reflections, and they are not screen space based. And the old method of reflections, which is screen space, the default one we use in UE4, which is this one. If we don't see, for example, let's find this spot. I'm gonna hide this. Let's hide these, yeah. These windows, if we don't see them in our screen here, they will not reflect on the floor. So if we hide them from the view, you can see how that's working. With Lumen, so Lumen is the new GI and reflection system too in UE5. We got Lumen reflections now. You can see the reflections immediately started reflecting the environment. And of course, we should not compare like this method, because now while we have these reflections, let's say we need to use screen space reflections because we are baking our light and we want to use this scene for virtual reality. Well, we need to add screen space reflection captures. It's like from the visual effects, we have sphere reflection capture and we have box reflection capture. So you can click and drag one, and you can place these around your project on areas that you want to capture. So let's make it slightly smaller first. Let's set this guy to snap size of 1. And we need to build the reflection capture. Khayal, good morning to you, buddy. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're enjoying. How's your day going, everyone? Khayal, especially you, buddy. Okay, you can see the reflections changed now because we selected this area of interest to capture from here, and like, I don't know how technically this like 100% works, but we get now better reflections in this area because we captured this area. So you can set the radius for your reflection captures, and you can add a couple of them across your world, and you can use for the if you want like more it's not a massive difference, you will notice, but you can switch between sphere reflection and box reflection captures. So here is box reflection capture. Don't crash engine, thank you. We can scale it on our area. And we can also capture this. So I'm gonna press G to see everything slightly better. I'm going to build and build reflection capture. Literally nothing changed. So it's I won't say like they are the same. They are used in different case scenarios, but I don't have that case scenario now to show it. But obviously the scene is much better with one. So let's now see if the light will bake, and let's set it, before we bake the light, let's set it to none and build. Let's hope it works. I'm gonna make it use 4. And let's read the chat. So, Hawk, Drone Club, I want to know how to use menu blueprint to switch furniture in real time. I would love to cover something similar to this in the future, but for now, if you go to our website Academy, to the Academy website, we have a free course on blueprints in Unreal Engine for Archviz beginners from scratch. You will learn what is blueprint, what is level blueprint, and we will learn how to change materials in Unreal Engine using blueprints. So this course is part of our Unreal Masterclass. It's part of the Unreal courses we're working on, but that one is 100% free, so you can find it. Blueprint for beginners, yeah, there we go. 21 lessons. If you learn this, or if you watch this, 100% you will be able to change furniture in Unreal Engine with the blueprints. I don't cover it, but it will be easy, so easy for you, because I explain blueprints and how to use them and how to find nodes and all that in the course that are on the Academy. Alright, so we baked the light. Oh my god, you can see this artifact from the GPU lightmass. And this one comes from the progress bars for some example, for some reason, sorry. But that's okay. As you can see, oh my god, here because I have a light here with massive quality. This is why I love Lumen. We don't need to deal with this anymore. But yeah, for VR it sucks. But I really hope we get, I really hope we get Lumen for VR, bro. Yeah, man, Peter, we can only hope, Peter. Lumen in VR will need eye tracking, dynamic favorite rendering, foveated rendering to perform well enough, I think. One day, someone will do it. I have a problem with contact shadow on Lumen UE5. How can I solve it? Hey, Amil Jar, Marta. Okay, let's leave this GPU scene from here. Let's go now to our Lumen scene. And let's talk perhaps a little bit, see what we can do about contact shadows. So let's go back to projects, maps, and let's go to our Lumen scene. Let's save everything here, it's okay. So let's maybe find a texture that we can we press and visualize the virtual shadow map So Lumen, the way it works, it generates cards for it works mainly first on generating mesh distance fields and what we call surface cache. If you read more about Lumen in the Unreal documentation, Unreal Engine Lumen technical details. Generate these cards around your mesh. This is why we divide the meshes of the houses in or the architectural project inside Unreal. So when you have complex mesh, generating these cards becomes harder, and this makes it hard for GI and like for Lumen to work properly on your surfaces. Now it creates this, and it also uses it creates a very improved version of the mesh distance fields that it uses also for lighting, like behind the scenes stuff. So to generate the soft lighting we see, or all the lighting effects, I'm looking if we have any reference on that. So to understand Lumen much better and how to work with it, it's important to get familiar with it with the documentation. And these mesh distance fields, we can visualize them. So they are a proxy mesh or approximate, like extremely low poly version of our meshes in the project. And based on that, we get the lighting we see. So that's how software ray tracing works. So I now remember where you can find it in the document. If you want to understand first like how Lumen works, oh my god, it works on multiple. I think they started the documentation with it with software ray tracing. Not here. Yeah, in the technical details. Multiple ray tracing methods to solve global illumination, and Lumen uses multiple ray tracing methods to solve global illumination reflections. Screen traces are done first, so it uses some sort of screen space stuff still. So screen spaces traces are done first, followed by a more of reliable method. So Lumen uses software ray tracing through signed distance fields by default, but can achieve higher quality on supporting video cards when hardware ray tracing is enabled. So this is the main thing we need to know about Lumen. It can work on any computer, any GPU, and it works using software ray tracing through signed distance fields. And these signed distance fields, they look like what we saw earlier, like this. Okay? And you can achieve higher quality by enabling hardware ray tracing, which is an RTX card. Feel free to read more. Now, these signed distance fields, to visualize them, if you go to visualizers, no, not to visualizers, to show, not Lumen, to visualize and to find here mesh distance fields. Lumen also uses a mix of mesh distance fields and global distance field to create our the global lighting we see in the engine. So it does not use all this mesh distance field we see to create the project. No, it creates the lighting or to calculate like everything we see in a mix of this. The more you read in the document, so I'm saving you some reading here, but you still need to read, guys. And this. So as you can see, it's extremely low quality. So this, like when you are extremely far from the build, from a project, you won't even notice. So basically that's what's up. Now, let's go to visualize. Again, I did it. So here we visualize. Where are you at? Ah, there we go. Let's disable this. And for me, I have a shortcut, Control Shift M, as you can see, because I don't want to go every time here and go to visualize and view my mesh distance fields. And you may have noticed when we preview the mesh distance field on this mesh, it's not that good. So maybe this will not produce very good contact shadows or soft shadows or any type of lighting. So to increase the quality of the mesh distance field on this mesh, if you, let's also go here. So if you click on that mesh, if you open it in the static mesh editor, so let's double click here. And we can go to the LOD 0 setting. By default, I think build settings will be like this, collapsed. And again, you can do the same. You can collapse everything if you like, because we need LOD 0 selection. Sorry, build settings. And scroll down. We can enable expand this if you want. We are looking for distance field resolution scale. All right, this guy, if we set it to a value like 2, and we click apply, you can see you have a much better presentation or proxy mesh of that chair and the areas like where it matters. I think we need to increase it just a little bit for here. And so let's set this back to 1. See if it will make any noticeable changes. It will be hard to see noticeable changes, but it will add up. With the sign distance fields, because like increasing this to high values will not make that much of a difference, but because it was rare where I saw effects, but I still do it just to ensure I got proper presentation. I still need to work more R&D on this and share with you any results I learn about this, guys. And if anyone knows anything, also feel free to share it. The best way to achieve soft shadowing or like shadows is having light sources like this in your project. Scatter them around. So here I have this one because I know I will place a light here. But having these light sources, they will help a lot in grounding your scene. So this is without. They're still there. And having, can you go away? Like these small details will help the shadows. So try placing lights around your project. It will take from the performance more, be careful, but that's one way to add better, to ground your meshes more in the floor. And also, of course, the final settings we need to play with, but I'm not touching this a lot now, are the post-process settings in Lumen, in Unreal. So in the global illumination and reflections tab, in both, when we select the method, in both we have Lumen settings in the GI. So in the GI, let's set these to a low value, the Lumen scene lighting, and let's set them to low value, which is 0. If you set it to 0, the lowest value you can go for is 0.25. And you will notice generally like there is so much screen stuff happening, I would say, like noise in the global illumination. So the Lumen global illumination from post-process volume. By increasing these to higher values, you can achieve better results, better global illumination, better scene detail. So all of these we used to put as console commands. Now we just have them here out of the box. There are no secret console commands I know of at the moment. If anyone knows any good console commands, feel free to share them now with us in the chat or the comments so we can take a look at them now or future. And the lumen scene distance, the max trace distance, if you've seen the Unreal Matrix demo, this is where you use such settings when on large scale projects. And if you want to change the update speed on the lumen scene and the final gather, you can do that from the advanced, but it's up to you. You can experiment with this, but basically when you have a light, so I'm gonna press Ctrl L and just change my lighting. If you want the light to be more responsive, I guess, like when you go from day to night, of course we have some artificial lights, but if you want for it to be more responsive, you can change the speed from here, from the advanced. And the same can be said on reflections. We also have a couple of settings. And William recently made an amazing video going through all these settings and some really good tips that I think everyone should watch. So easy fix, not for this. Common issues, UE5. This is a really good one. He talks a little bit also about glass reflections and refractions in the ray traced mode. So I think really good video. Here's a link, guys. And he also made another really good video because I haven't. But he introduced us, reached out to me, to other amazing YouTubers like Jonathan, Punisher. So I'm here as well. Watch the whole thing, leave a like, subscribe, leave William a hack. Yeah, so let's go, baby. More questions. I have to go soon, guys, because I have some calls today. But I think tomorrow we can continue and create some textures on our assets here. This took... this is the thing about live streams. I don't know. It's interesting. But I'm not complaining. I love talking to you. I love answering your questions. But I am trying to see how can I answer everything. It's so if I didn't catch any of the questions here, I'm reading here. There is a lot. Oh, Weasel. Always feel free to leave your question as a comment, guys, and perhaps, yeah, I'm trying to make more of these live streams to get all these questions answered. All right, Weasel, buddy, it's good to see you, man. Time in Sevilla is awesome. I completely agree. Peter, I've been really inspired by your work. He's talking to your boy Weasel. Yeah, man. Weasel, big guy, good guy. Love you, dude. Bilal Shehzad, you can ask a question, of course. How to make this website? It's Web3, but is it possible in Unreal Engine? So you need to, in order to host your Unreal Engine projects and experiences to people, to anyone with any device, to access these projects and interact with them, we need to use something like cloud hosting. Like you can use AWS. So if you learn more about pixel streaming first, so learn more first about pixel streaming in Unreal Engine. And that would be the first step in order to take your Unreal Engine projects to anyone in the world, if they have fast internet connection. All right. Khayal. So auto vertical tilt correction for using Unreal cameras. Oh, I really wish there is such a function Unfortunately, we don't have that option in the camera. I saw a script doing that, but that's actually a good thing we can ask for. So if we never vote it out, if we don't talk about it, I think, yeah, we have to mention this. This is great point, buddy. We can write about this in the forums of Epic. That's a good place to start. And I can bring some, yeah. I would love for this option to be inside Unreal Engine. To have tilting option for our architectural shots. It's especially useful for exterior shots. So when you have a physical camera or any camera, let's switch to the camera. So if we go, I think I never used it in Max for extremely long time. Almost forget about it. Just got me back some memories. So we have, I think it was in the MISC. So we have clipping plane, lens distortion, yes. No? Cubic, no. Perspective control. Yeah, we used to shift the lens. Not this. The tilt correction. Auto, yeah, this guy. So when you are like in the building, let's see the save frames. Oh, that's too much scale up. The best way to achieve it in Unreal is where you go zoom like so much. Why I can't select my camera? I'm trying to show it in like some way. It's kind of hard. Because I'm not used to shortcuts again here anymore. Oh, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Yes. That's the main difference. Having such a button in Unreal would make it really amazing for exterior visualizations. For now, I believe to achieve something similar, we need to zoom in a lot to give the, and like go extremely far and hide all the projects in front, objects in front of you. It's not that convenient to create like a semi-orthographic or like orthographic corner of this. So that's so much zoom here. If we go to focus settings and the camera, this keeps happening. I don't know why. I'm looking at the exposure settings or the post-process settings of this camera if there's anything, because every time I add a cinematic camera, it is for some reason overexposed, or it does not follow the same. Well, maybe because I'm using manual settings. Comparing to if you were like from close. Anyway, this is a nice shot though, but if it tells me anything, I should chamfer these edges. But that's okay because this is supposed to be the blockouts. And as you can see, so this is a comment here. If you chamfer all the edges, you would get so much better result. And I can show a quick example on that. You get the highlights reflecting back, so there is something wrong with this picture because these are just perfectly sharp edges, right? And there are no perfectly sharp edges in real world. So looking for an example. Give me a second. I don't know how much visible it is, but let's see if you can see. I hope it's visible. But there is some extremely small. This cursor makes it funny. Sorry about that. But it might be visible here, perhaps. But on the edges, you might see like some specular light or like, yeah, reflection of some light sort. And the same could be said on these skateboards. Like there is some, it's just a pixel difference, but it makes really like important difference. And of course, if you have some spaces between the skateboard or between the kitchen boards and the floor, in a way, to create this ambient occlusion or shadow, that would be dope. So this floor, for example, can be slightly up from here. So let's see, what can we do? And let's compare. Yeah, now we have some sort of shadow. And if you select this again, let's take a screenshot and let's select this again and put it on 0. And take another screenshot. So this is where we moved it up 0.5 centimeter. Okay. And this is where it was 100% connected to the floor, like vertex on vertex. And something just feels unnatural here. Like if you see most objects in real life, there is some height here, slightly, maybe half a centimeter might be over exaggerated, maybe not, it depends. But also this is good trick to use in game engines. It will give nice shadowing, as you can see. So that's the difference. Of course, you need to move everything then up, but that's okay. I think it's worth it. All right, I will take a couple of more questions and then I have to go. It's been already 1 hour and 40 minutes. I wanted to go live an hour. Again, not complaining. Thank you guys. It was so much fun. How can you connect into static meshes? How can you convert into static meshes in Unreal Engine 5? So when you import any mesh, by default, it is a static mesh. And if you have a nanite mesh, so let's select here. These are not nanite meshes. None of them actually are because this is low poly. So let's make this into a nanite mesh. We can now go to visualize so we can see what we see. Overview of yeah, actually this is nanite. So let's say, hey, this is nanite. And you don't want nanite. And I think one of the reasons I made this into a nanite because it works better with Lumen. We can check now. That's why it's recommended to use nanite meshes. So I'm gonna make this not nanite by just simply right clicking, and in the context menu on top we get options for the static mesh. We can disable nanite. And now it's not nanite. That's it. That's how easy it is to enable and disable nanite in Unreal. And if you want to enable nanite across your project everywhere here in Unreal Engine 5, the new release, from window, we have nanite audit tool. So where it used to be, let me find it. From edit, under tools, audit. I forgot where. Yeah, there we go. Nanite tools. And from here, you can see what problems you have. So if you have everything as nanite and you have errors with your nanite meshes, you can see the meshes with errors listed here. And if you have a project that you want to optimize and make everything into nanite, and I still need to learn more about nanite and what is supporting, what is not, but you can simply select here the triangle threshold. So how many objects above this number of triangles you want to be converted into nanite. So let's say I want everything in my project. You can type 1 and it will list everything for you. And you can enable nanite on all of across all your projects. But you need to be extra careful with the reflective surfaces and translucent surfaces, sorry. So you can put the threshold you want and you can enable the nanite. And this will take a couple of minutes. I'm not gonna do it now, depending on the scale of your project, of course. And I still going through experiments with nanite, lumen, translucency, and whatnot. So I hope this answers your question, Kasiri, on nanite and how to enable it. Datasmith also works awesome if you are importing CAD data. That is so true, amigo. Datasmith is one of the best ways to get any type of data into Unreal Engine. 3D textures, well, mainly 3D textures. Materials, of course. It saves you some time. You still need to do your work, but I would rather use Datasmith than just importing a normal FBX file on anything. Because it's, I think the quality of life Datasmith provides is the ability to iterate on your project. I can easily go back to Blender, change all the architecture in this project, and export the Datasmith file again, and re-import this file once I relocate it. If I lost the file, if I deleted it, I can re-import with a new file, select a new Datasmith file, and that's it. If you are unlucky, let's say like me now, and you get problems where it even does not want to re-import this file, it's okay. You can export the Datasmith file you want, let's say the walls, right? And you can import the walls. Now here comes the important part. If you have your project organized into names, so I can simply select all the walls in my project, delete them, and import them again. If I have them named like this, right? If everything is not properly named or probably put into folders, it's gonna be it's gonna be painful to update your files. But yeah, so that's why naming conventions, folder structure, layers, and that good stuff. Hey, Khadija, Sabaho. Good morning. Cooks, as I can see, your viewport does not have any light flickers or shadow blotches. How can we fix that? Can we show the settings for better quality in the viewport? Cooks, so there are kinda there, but I think Lumen works well with, I think, almost any lighting scenarios. I think it's working. So let's see if we disable like the lights here, the artificial lights I have in my project. It will slightly be harder, I guess. Like I have lights to support my scene. This would what would like get rid of any blotches you might see. But the settings I would recommend, I am actually using like the default settings of the engine. So I have directional light, right? And this directional light, I don't believe I changed anything on it. If you don't want to change the exposure, well, depending on your exposure, but this is why I love Lumen. So I have a directional light with up the default settings because I just want to. Wow, this is so nice to experiment with Lumen. However, actually, here's something important. So at the moment, so everyone, look at this, pay attention. As you can see, the light is not entering from the windows here. And that is because at the moment, I don't know why, but translucent surfaces for some reason are blocking the light from entering. Well, my workaround for this, at least for now, until we investigate or learn more about this or get an update that would fix this, the way I'm working around this is I simply select the surface I want to change and I go to the modeling mode and I go to triangle select if I like. I select the triangles I want to change. So I believe, yeah, I know I have one face because when I make my selection on the other side, I have this checker pattern. So I'm gonna click on separate and I'm gonna click OK. So now the frame is a separate object and the glass window here is also separate object. I can do the same on the other glass panel behind it. So I'm gonna go to triangle select. I think it's also already separated. No, not it. It's not. So I can select this. We can separate. So we do that from tree model or triangle modeling. Tray select. Can by just by left clicking you can select any face, and then you can perform the operation here in the modeling part. In the mesh edits, you can separate faces. Now let's click Ctrl Shift S to save our new meshes. And let's select this face, let's select this face, and let's just type in the details panel, cast shadow, and let's just disable it. And I think, okay, so there are also faces on the other side here. These are for the reflections. So we also need to select these. It's my bad for not selecting them. I thought we only have one face. So that's okay. I'm gonna press Shift 5. And I will keep one only selected. Triangle select. I'm gonna select this now and yeah, I don't want to delete it. I'm just gonna separate it. And I can migrate it later. Merge it later with the other mesh. So I go to triangle select, not to poly edit, because poly edit will select your whole mesh for some reason. Triangle select will select the triangles you want to delete or separate. That is nice. And let's select Now these two guys, press search for cast, and let's type this. Do the same here. Bruh, this is painful. So don't cast. And don't cast. Where is that hidden face? Don't cast. Ha, there we go. Get out of here. Yeah, we don't get the same, like, smoother shadows than this area. That's one of the cons of using this method. It's not the best, but I would love to hear any solutions on this. Something still investigating. Guys, thank you so much for your interactivity, the chat. So Josh, to answer your question on what GPU I have 1080 Ti, I have RTX 3070 mobile on the laptop. Marco Vorster, been having an issue where my Unreal Engine crashes every time my light maps are compiling after building. You may need to check for an option that you may have enabled by default if you're using the Archviz template. So if you're using whether the CPU or the GPU lightmass, we have compress light maps. If you have this disabled, you may need to enable it or disable it. Check with this setting, but that could somehow help. I hope so. This is one of the settings I play with because sometimes compressing too many light maps takes a problem, and sometimes having light maps with massive sizes also take problems. It's a VRAM problem, unfortunately. And in the GPU light mass, that setting is here. Compressed light maps, it's under general. You can disable it or enable it. Or lower your light map resolutions across your project if they are like you have really high light map density. Like all your project is red, for example, you may need to consider lowering the light map density of your project, of your meshes, to something green, orange, so on. So yeah, I hope this helps too. So for the settings, I'm using my project settings for the lighting I'm having here in Lumen. This is something I wanted to discuss earlier. This is for you, Quishin brand. These are the default settings with the architectural template in Unreal Engine. And if we go to rendering under engine and we go to global illumination, so I have use hardware ray tracing when enabled. I'm gonna go here and let's disable it. So you can see the difference now in the lighting of the project with and without hardware ray tracing for Lumen, the type of quality we will get. Okay, so I'm gonna make this smaller. Enable this. You can see immediately we have much better global illumination, right? And to work a little around this, we can go to the Skylight, for example, and we can start messing with some of the settings. Or we can actually start with the directional light too. So I'm gonna put this here for now. Come here and increase the intensity of my light. And as you can see, without the hardware ray tracing, we get more bleeding problems now. So to work with these now, we have to go to the post-process volume. And under the Lumen global illumination, we can start with the final gather quality. So we can set this from 1 to 2. That's going to work. Increase the lighting quality. If that's going to work. All right. So I go to the mesh distance field view, and we see there is some type of a gap here. So let's see if we can fix that. So we open the static mesh, and we go to LOD0, build settings, distance field resolution scale. Let's set this to 3 for now because it's a massive surface. And let's see if this will change the gap we have here. All right, apply changes. Okay. Unfortunately, we still have this gap. This means, and this is actually important, the mesh distance fields will not generate as they should on one-faced meshes, I would say. So I wonder in Unreal with the modeling tools if we can give this any thickness, and I think we can. So let's go to modeling, and before we do anything on this mesh, let's make a duplicate of it. And then let's click on poly extrude, sorry, edit, select the whole mesh, and click extrude. Oh no. Okay, I think for another stream, guys, I can turn off the hardware ray tracing and see what are workarounds we can do to improve the lighting on Lumen, since many of you, I believe, does not have RTX cards, but you don't need an RTX card. Even with GTX card, you can still get better. You can still enable hardware ray tracing with a GTX card. It won't get the same performance, but for now, again, I said for best visual quality in Archviz and the best performance, you need to bake the lights. But it does not mean not worth getting into this and improving. So project settings. Yeah, we're talking here. I don't want to. I wonder if I want to create. So this is like really quick experiment. And let's increase the post-process volume a little bit. All right. Let's move this here. Cut. Oh, this is also coming from here. So yeah, it was coming from that light. Bouncing since Lumen got infinite bounces. So this is a noise from the post process. So ignore everything I did here earlier, creating that provider, null. But also the mesh distance field here tells me there is something wrong. So this could be extruded and mesh distance field quality increased. So post process volume. If we go to lens, no, sorry, GI, we may need to go to higher values, like much higher than 1. You can see now it's much less more, but it's still there. But way much less than what it was at this quality, the default quality. So Lumen global illumination here. And I think we need, like, the main setting is the final gather quality. So this is a final gather problem. If you set this to 1, you can see. Five. And you can also compare the frames per second. If you don't want to get to all this headache, try enabling hardware ray tracing on your PC. If possible. If not, strive for one. I know I should not say that, but that's what the industry needs, I guess. Very interesting difference. And I think could be the same on as for reflections, you see here ray lighting mode. This is with these hardware ray tracing. Sorry. I'm trying to find any difference here. Okay. I think one of the important settings in the reflections is the ray lighting mode. You can see reflections here between surface cache and between hit lighting for reflections. And you can also increase or decrease the quality of the reflections from here. But you would see that better for more reflective surfaces. So, brand for the Skylight. Give me a second. So here's my Skylight. I'm gonna start reading the final, perhaps the final setting, chat messages from here, because there is a lot I missed. It takes time to answer questions, guys. I'm doing my best. So the Skylight settings here, it's also the default setting. It's set to movable, and it's also set to real-time capture. So this is important because if you change the light, the Skylight will always remain the same, right? Well, we don't want that. We want it always set to real-time capture. Okay? So that's my lighting setup. I have directional light, Skylight, sky atmosphere. So when we get the sky, let me reduce the intensity of the directional light. Nothing special in the settings. I promise you. It's all unreal. So that's a Skylight. We have affects the world. Yes, nothing, not just simple Skylight with nothing on but the real-time capture option. So we can capture the sky. Lumen is something else, man. It's dope. I think we can take a look here. I'm looking for other questions. So this is where it's really noticeable, the lumen reflections. You can see here there is some type of, you can see it. So this thingy, if we choose the surface cache reflections, you can see the light leak, I'm gonna call it. But if you hit ray for lighting for reflections, it's gone. Hello from Portugal, Pedro. Welcome, buddy. Mirror in reflections are not good. Lumen mirror reflections are not good. Brand. They are getting there. These problems are like having lighting to work like this, and having also reflections like this, and that updates also with the light. This is like science fiction few years ago. So the ability just to have this, I know it's not perfect, but don't look at this technology now. Look at it with couple of the updates, and look at it along the way. 6 months from now, 1 year from now. Wow, I imagine the future of computer graphics. Who could have thought of this just 2 years ago? Before we see the demo. No, I saw actually from 2017 and whatnot, but yeah, it's a process. Like real-time global illumination, real-time reflections. There are so many papers on this, and it's a process. That's what it is. As like 2 minutes papers, look at this, 2 papers along the line. Why don't you use physically correct units for the sun, for example, 70,000 lux? That's a good question, Sigora. We use actually the value of 10 because it is the default value, and it's just easier to set the exposure settings in the post-process volume. So in the post-process volume, it's really much easier to change like the exposure from here during the creation process of your project, because we change this a lot instead of entering more weird values than when you have like a sun with extreme high value. So as long as we are using physically based rendered material, they will interact to the light as they're supposed to do, like the surfaces, their reflections, their roughness, the base color. As long it's what is very important, other than in the intensity of the sun, is that you make sure you are using the correct textures and the correct inputs in your materials, and things will look right. And then you can just control the exposure, and that will affect the intensity basically. So that's why we don't use the correct values. However, at the end result of the project, let's say, where we want to get the most photorealistic and colors, mainly like the most accurate colors in the possible, we switch to physically based camera. To the camera even we don't use the sun, the directional light anymore. We use the sun position calculator to get the exact location of the house or the apartment or wherever it is. So because when you ask sky, this guy, we have latitude, longitude, time zone, and so on. can see it's extremely bright. So instead of dealing that brightness with weird colors in the post-process volume, we just add normal value to the sun of 10 lux and change it here. So that's to answer your question, buddy. Okay, guys. Is there any software that can compete with Unreal Engine 5? Unity. Other game engines. That's it. But yeah, they need to catch up with Lumen and Nanite. If you have tutorial video with lighting sun and skylight with Lumen, yes. So if you go to YouTube and you go to the channel, I know we're extremely busy to work on videos. This is why I'm doing live as much as possible to stay with you guys. But there are this video, Unreal Engine 5 for 3ds Max, for architecture. I show you how to export your project and all, and there is also this video. And there is another video I recorded last week that needs edit. Should hopefully update it soon. The first video in a long time. I'm excited about it. Alright guys, I am sorry, but I have to go. Really have to go. Thank you again for being here today, for all your questions, for being here, and I look forward to seeing you soon, around similar time. With that said, thank you so much. Leave a like if you enjoyed this stream today. Be here soon with your new questions. If I didn't manage to answer your question, leave your question as a comment if you want, and in the next stream I'm gonna read the comments on this video, answer them the first thing in the next stream, and then we can get into it. Of course, I do my best to answer everything. Wish you a wonderful day, guys. Mwah, love you. Thank you so much, and cheers. Bye bye. That's a very long goodbye. You are amazing.